here before, we are so glad that you're here. We're going to continue to worship together. We're going to move into a time where we can kind of slow things down. Everything's crazy. Everyone has this busy, hectic schedule each week. And when we come here on Sunday morning, we can give ourselves a chance to quiet down and to pray and to give ourselves a chance to prepare for the week ahead. So we're going to continue to worship together as we sing this next song and invite the Spirit into this place. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for, to be overcome by your presence, Lord. Your presence, Lord. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we celebrate the incredible relationships that you've blessed us with this day, help us to continue to cultivate love and peace in our life so that we can grow closer with you as we grow closer with others. You've given us these friendships so that we can grow together in you. You didn't create us to live on our own. You created us to love one another as we draw closer to you. So fill this space this morning with a special kind of love that allows broken relationships to be mended and strong relationships to grow even deeper. We're so grateful for all of our friends that are here today, the friends that we've been able to make in this space because of you. And Lord, we especially pray this morning for our friends that aren't here yet, that don't know you yet. Allow us to leave today with a newfound hope that we can continue to bring people closer to you. On Friends Day, we not only celebrate the friends that we currently have, but the friends that we are going to continue to make as we grow in our faith and as we walk on this incredible journey. We know you're right there alongside of us, so just keep encouraging us and pushing us to reach out to new people and show them the kind of love that you taught us and that your Son taught us. And now let us join together in the prayer that he taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. You may be seated.
Welcome to iFire, where the next evolution of faith is taking you one step closer. Whether you are a first-time guest or a lifelong member, go ahead and fill out your Connect card. If you are a first-time guest, please indicate that on the card. The church gives $5 to the Emmanuel Care Center for every first-time guest who fills out a card. And be sure to flip over the card for the latest sign-up opportunity.
Bringing children one step closer to Jesus is central to our identity at iFire. Our nursery is available for children 6 weeks to 3 years old. For kids in preschool through 6th grade, we have commotion downstairs starting 15 minutes before the service. Just ask any greeter where to go.
Your offerings continue to impact the people and ministries of this church. Here's just another example of how your offerings are touching lives. You can text to give or give online by going to ifiregerard.com and clicking on Give. Or you can drop your offering with your Connect card on the metal kiosks on your way out.
Do you struggle with constant bouts of nervousness? Do you have an inability to relax? Do you have trouble concentrating because you feel anxious all the time? Anxiety is very real, and over 21 million people every year struggle with it. Many people never seek help because they feel like they have nowhere to turn. Well, you are not alone, and we have a place for you to turn. Starting March 7th, Kim Fisher will be leading an anxiety support group here at the church. They will meet at 7 p.m. the first and third Tuesdays of every month here in the Connections Cafe. The group will cover a wide range of anxiety-related topics to help you better understand and manage them. Most importantly, the group is here for you to see that you are not alone and to give you the support you need to live every day fearlessly. Sign up on the back of your Connect card to let us know that you're interested, or talk to Kim Fisher for more information. Financial Peace University is a 9-week course that has helped many people in this church take control of their money and their lives. FPU is fun, but more importantly, it is life-changing. If you're not sure it's for you, come to our FPU preview. There you'll get a taste of what to expect in the coming weeks. We're going to meet in the Connections Cafe at 7 p.m. on February 23rd for that. The class officially kicks off the following Thursday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. In 90 minutes a week, you can learn how to manage your money so it doesn't manage you. We're still looking for chili makers and treat bakers for our chili cook-off and bake-off. The best chili gets a golden ladle, and the best baked item gets a golden spatula. Plus, there's going to be line dancing after the food tasting and voting. And if you've never seen Shane dance before, you're in for a...
Don't worry about the future, but then I'll throw my caution to the wind.
Well, you're in for something. And remember, you don't have to cook to attend. We need people to show up and eat and vote for me. I mean, the best cook and baker. Yeah, that's what I meant. But if you do want to cook, sign up on the back of your Connect card and let us know.
Don't forget to follow iFire Girard on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay connected throughout the week, and on YouTube to see all of our videos, including this one.
All right, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to Friend Day. I'm so glad. I'm Pastor Vicki. It's great to have you. And I tell you, you have stumbled onto a wonderful group of people here. We're going to talk about that a little bit today when we talk about continue on in our series called My Kind of Crazy. It came from a friend of mine who we were just joking around, and he said, I just think you're a little nuts, kind of like me. And I said, well, isn't that it? Isn't that what life is? It's not a attempt to not be crazy. It's just to find our kind of crazy and hang out with those people, right? Well, last week we talked about a marriage, and so we had Valentine's. Gentlemen, you only got 2 days left. If you filled out your Valentine and you haven't yet figured out how to make sure that that she sees that, you got to figure it out soon because you're going to be late if you don't. And but now, today, we're going to switch our attention. We're going to talk about my kind of crazy friends. We're going to talk about the 3 friends every one of us needs, because our friends can really determine a whole lot about what our future is going to be like. Like that friend when I was a little kid, I was probably about 12 or so, and got a new pastor at the church who happened to have 2 sons, and I was friends with the younger son. He was just a little bit younger than I was, and my friend and I were hanging out one day, and she says, man, boy, he's cute. I think we ought to tell him how cute he is. And so I'm like, oh, well, okay. So she wrote out this little love note for him, and she was a little afraid to sign her own name by herself, so she signed both of our names to it. So, there was a couple problems with that. First of all, I was in love with the older brother. Notice the word older, and no use for younger men. And even when I was 12, I figured that out. And also, I attended church there every Sunday, and she didn't. So here now is this letter circulating around the church that had my name on it, and just kind of made things just a little awkward there for a while. Well, friends can make a whole big difference in how our life goes. Those friends in college, they kind of helped you, one for good or ill, helped you on a path. Friends that you have in your life. One of the things that we're discovering now, though, is that we're experiencing sort of a poverty, not a financial poverty, but a relational poverty in our lives. That it used to be that most Americans had 6 close friends. Now, when we talk about friends, I'm not talking about Facebook friends. I'm talking about the kind of friends that, what we call it, have refrigerator rates. Friends that could walk in your door, open up the refrigerator, rummage through it, and grab a snack. Okay? It used to be that folks had 6 friends like that. Now you're lucky if you have 2. And think about it, how that impoverishes our lives. Think about the kind of things that you used to do for free. Entertainment, for example. Entertainment was a deck of cards, a 2-liter of pop, and some chips, right? Daycare was go next door and play with your friends, right? And therapy, got a bottle of wine, let's sit down and talk. Yeah, all those things that were free or nearly free, and now we have to pay for all of those things. Yeah, our lives, but it's not just simply because we spend money, it's because we're feeling the effect of relational poverty. Like there's something missing, when really maybe there's someone missing. There's someone missing. We don't have anybody that has refrigerator rights. One girl said it this way: I have 700 Facebook friends and nobody that I could call in the middle of the night if I needed them. 700 Facebook friends, and not one of them I could call in the middle of the night if I needed them. If you show me your friends, I'm going to show you what your future is going to look like, because you're going to be the average of your friends. You're probably going to make about what your friends make for a living. You're probably going to spend about what your friends spend. You're going to have a faith probably about as strong as your friends. You're going to have a marriage probably about as strong as your friends, on average. Now, who in the world are those people that we need in our lives? If we truly want our life to go on the trajectory that God has for us, what are the three friends? Who are those three friends that we need to invest in and cultivate so that we have a very rich life and so that we can be the people that God intended for us to be? I got to tell you, it's people who come along and are willing to invest in you, those people who say that they're with you, that help direct that. One of our professors, we weren't actually really close friends with him. He didn't have refrigerator rights, but boy, could he speak truth. And he's why I'm here today, because 20 years ago, 27 years ago, he said, I just think you need to reconsider your path. The way you're headed, this is where your future's going to be. But if you just make a couple adjustments, you're going to end up someplace better. And I did. I ended up here with you. And I am so deeply glad that I listened to him. Made a complete difference in the way I experienced my life and the way I experienced ministry, because of that one friend who came along to say, hey, here's another option. Here's a better choice. So if you're 16, don't just have 16-year-old friends. Have 20-year-old friends, people who can speak into your life who've been through this before. Or if you're in your 20s and 30s and you're just starting out, have some friends who are in your 30s and 40s, folks who've been through the bumps and bruises and can say, you know, you can make it through this. Have those friends who have it together financially, have gone to Financial Peace University. I got to tell you, that is a great class. My husband and I have been to it numerous times. It is fun. Who in the world thought that Financial Peace University would be fun? But it is a hoot. And you absolutely will be better off because you did it. Why? Because you're going to surround yourself with those friends who are on the same path that you are, all trying to work towards a better future. There are three types of friends every one of us needs. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the scriptures, but I'm not going to read the scriptures for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the stories. David, we're going to look at David. He was a guy that everybody loved in the Old Testament, the story that he was just that guy that just seemed like God's favor was on him. It seemed like things were going to go, if anybody, had it together, it was going to be him, right? And let's talk a little bit about his story and about the three friends that came along in his life to help make a difference for him. First of all, when he was still just a young kid, he was out tending sheep one day, and his first friend knocks on the door. His name's Samuel. And Samuel shows up at Jesse's house, his dad's house, and says, God's told me that Saul is not supposed to be king of Israel, that somebody in your household is. Well, what are you going to do? We all know the oldest kid is the best, the most intelligent, the best looking, and the most with it, right? I mean, is there really any doubt about that? And so, what do? We do what everybody does. Oh, bring out the oldest, the more mature, the one who's, the reliable one. That's certainly the person that God's going to choose for the next king. And he comes out, and Samuel goes, wait a minute, something's wrong. This is not the guy. Oh, well, then it must be the second. Okay, then second kid, third kid, on and on and on. Till all the brothers go by, and Samuel's like, we've missed it. I know they got the right address. I know this is where God said to go. Do you got any more kids? Now, do you really want to be that kid? The one that they have to ask for, do you have any more? Well, let me think. Okay. I guess there is one more. He's out with the sheep in back. He's tending to the flocks. We just sort of assumed that you wouldn't want the redheaded freckle kid, right? Yes, bring him in. He walks in the door. Samuel goes, he's the one. He's the one that God has something more for. God wants him to be king, and he anoints him to be king. Well, what would have happened to David had Samuel never done that? He would have been tending the sheep the rest of his life. He'd have been in the shadow of not just one brother, but all of them. He would have had the worst of the worst, the runt of the litter, whatever happened to fall down last. If it weren't for Samuel coming and saying, God has more for you. You're better than just this. He saw more in him than he saw in himself. Samuel was that guy. He was that friend to David. Not a person in David's family even thought of him for this. But Samuel did, and Samuel knew. You see, there's friends who love you unconditionally, kind of like your mom, you really can't do anything wrong, and they love you no matter what. But then you have that friend that wants you to be better. That's who we're talking about. A friend who wants you to be better. That was Samuel in David's life. He wanted him to be better. Who is it? Who is it that speaks that into your life? Who is it that draws that out of you? You're capable of more. Maybe it's somebody at the office. Maybe it's somebody at the gym. Maybe it's a friend you've had for years. Or maybe that place is empty right now. And the Spirit of God is saying to you, you need to find somebody that makes you want to be better than you are today. Well, David grows up a little bit more, and he becomes friends with Jonathan. And Jonathan is actually the son of King Saul. Talk about a little awkward at Thanksgiving, because God's rejected Saul as king. Jonathan is Saul's son, and yet David is going to be king. And Jonathan and David keep this friendship that is legendary. They keep this friendship that says that it doesn't matter, even though Jonathan's the next one in line for the throne, he sets all that aside to support his friend. You see, this is the friend that you have in your life that helps you find some spiritual strength when you need it. Saul had decided that he was jealous of David. David had been a war hero. All the girls swooned over him, and Saul was jealous. He's like, wait a minute, who is this hot shot here? And he decides that he's going to do what he can to make sure that David never, ever becomes king. And in the midst of this, Jonathan goes to him, and Jonathan strengthens him and said, you can do this. God is on your side, and I support you. Who do you have in your life that does this? I got to tell you, we got a great person that does this in our church. That's Dave DiBernardi. He does this for me. Let me explain. I got to thinking about this. Let me tell you an illustration one illustration that's the whole thing. You understand this about me, you understand me, okay? My first Christmas Eve here, we were doing our Christmas Eve service, putting it all together, and I thought to myself, you know what, it would be really cool if we as a congregation, we came to our prayer time, and we all just started singing, "Oh, come, let us adore him." Kind of like a prayer chorus, And we could let it build, and think 250 voices, all singing, "Oh, come, let us adore him." Well, the evening progresses, and we get to that point, and I'm standing here, and we're singing, and I'm praying, and it dawns on me that I have just invited 250 to 300 people to do something they've never done before on an experimental basis to see what would happen if we did. So I get to praying, and I lift up my hand, and my hand starts to shake. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? You know what? That's how I lived my entire life. Come on, let's try, let's go. Oh my goodness, what did I just do? And that's when the text from Dave shows up, every single time. When I'm out there in front of God and everybody, and if this works, it's going to be glorious, and if it doesn't, I'm going to look like an idiot, and everything starts to shake, and I'm like, I'm not sure what I signed up for here. Ding on the phone. That's when the text shows up. Just want you to know I'm praying for you. Just want you to know we're going to be okay. Every time. I don't know what alert he gets on his phone that tells him he needs to do that. But this is what I've found out. You see, the power of God is greatest, and the grace of God is sweetest when you live out there like that. When you say, come on, let's try. Let's see what else God has for us. If it works, it'll be glorious. If it doesn't, I'm going to look like an idiot. But come on, let's go. And that's where the grace of God shows up. And that's where the power of God shows up. I don't know why we'd live any other way. Especially if we have people who will do that for us. The people who will say, I'm praying for you. You need to know you're not by yourself. Come on, let's go. Who is that for you? Who is that in your life who will help you to stay on track spiritually? To know that when you get discouraged, you've got someone you can talk to. This is the person that, they may not be the flashiest friend, and they may not be the one that you do everything with, but they're the one that when you want to talk about more than the Browns, they're the one you call. When you have the deeper questions of life, they're the one you talk to. Who is that in your life? Not just the one who sees and draws the best out of you, but the one who will meet you in that place to say, here, this is what the Spirit is calling you to. You can do this. You got this. Come on. Let's go. That was Jonathan for David and in David's life. Nathan was the third friend that David had. Now, he was still pretty young when he was anointed king, and Jonathan was there to help him. But as he got older, David also lost touch with his friends. Jonathan had died in battle. Samuel had died, and David found himself at this spot where he didn't have any good friends that he could call on. And as sometimes happens as we get older and we get a little bored with life, and he's out one day and he sees a pretty girl, and it didn't stop there. He decided that he's king. Why should anything be denied to him? And so he sends for her, he sleeps with her, and she ends up pregnant. Well, he's king. He can do whatever he wants, right? And there's just one problem. She starts to show, sends word that she's pregnant, and he says, well, I'll bring your husband home from battle. Come home, have a little comfort. Except for Uriah, her husband, was so noble, he said, I'm not going to take comfort in my wife's arms while my men still have their lives on the line in battle. And so while this king, who had all the power, Uriah had all the integrity, and David finally decides, I've got to get rid of this problem. So he sends Uriah off to the front lines, and he's killed in battle. He brings Bathsheba into his own house and marries her. Now, that's what happens when we don't invest in our friends. Because we have a choice. We're either going to choose self-care or we're going to choose self-medication. Self-care or self-medication. We don't get to not choose one of them. It's an either or. You're either going to invest in the people in your life, you're going to invest in the folks around you, and they're going to invest in you so that you can care for one another, or you're going to start figuring out a way to medicate yourself. Whether it's drowning your sorrows in a chocolate bar, or a little too much wine at dinner, or, well, you know what, let's just go out to eat and swipe the credit card. Or stay up a little later than after all the family goes to bed and turn on the internet. We're either going to choose the connection of self-care, or we're going to choose self-medication. One way or the other, we're going to spend the same. We're going to spend the same money, we're going to spend the same time, we're going to spend the same days on earth. But you get to choose whether you're investing in that that's going to take care of you, or you're investing in mopping up what happened when you self-medicated. This is what David did. He's a little older now, not as many girls swooning over him, a little bored, but still with enough power, too much power, over people's lives. And he falls. And he does something that somebody with the heart of God should never do. And then there was Nathan, his third friend. Nathan comes along and he says, David, I have a story about something that's going on in your kingdom that I need you to hear. I'm sure you'd want to hear it. Well, tell me. He says, well, there's this guy that he has this little lamb. And it's not just a lamb, it's a pet lamb. It's not just dinner. This lamb runs around with the kids play with it. He even lets it come in and sleep with them. Lets them in the house. And he said his neighbor's so well off, they've got plenty of lambs. But he was having company. And he decided rather than taking one of the lambs out of his many, many flocks, he was going to take the one from this guy, the pet from this guy. And so he takes that man's lamb and serves it to his guests for dinner. David is rightfully enraged. Nobody should act like that in my kingdom. You tell me his name and I will make sure that he's punished for what he's done. And Nathan says this, you are that man. You are that man, David. Who in your life will look you in the eye and say, you're better than this? You are better than this. I don't care how bored you are. I don't care how powerful you think you are. You don't do that to people. You see, it's great to have the person who will pat us on the back, but it is priceless to have the person who will kick us in the butt. What would have happened had David cultivated that friendship while it was still just something in his mind? What would have happened if he'd have cultivated that friendship to the point he could have said, hey, I just got to tell you, I'm struggling with something here. I need you to hold me accountable. Have you ever had that conversation with someone? It's awfully uncomfortable. I got to tell you. I have one or two friends who are kick you in the butt friends. But man, they've changed my life because they were willing to do that. What would have happened in David's life? What was the trajectory of his life would have been different had he cultivated that friendship before something happened instead of after? But unfortunately, he didn't. And Nathan comes up to him and says, you are the man who ripped away something precious from someone that didn't have very much at all. Who's that person for you? If you don't have that person, ask God to send them into your life. You will be the richest of all of us when you have that person in your life. Let's talk about why this is important. Because you are one friendship away from a better marriage, from better finances, from a better, more vibrant spiritual life. One friend away of making a different trajectory in your life. Why is this important? Because as much as I will be here for you when you have to mop up from the self-medication, I would much rather help you with the self-care. I would much rather see you take care of yourself rather than fix yourself. How in the world do you do this? Well, you impress people with your strengths, but you connect with people through your weaknesses. All that stuff that gets put on Facebook, that's great, but those are the highlight reel. That's the good stuff. This, when you connect with people, that's the B-roll. That's the stuff that's behind the scenes, the stuff that doesn't get put up on Facebook. You impress people with your Pinterest. You impress people with your kids' achievements or your own. But you connect with people through your weaknesses. You got to be real. You got to be real. And guess what? This is what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like, okay, 250 people, 300, let's go. Let's see what happens. See if we can have a different experience of the Almighty because we try something new together. And yeah, it'll be glorious if it works. And you're going to feel like an idiot if it doesn't. But guess what? God wants these 3 people in your life so much, he's going to help you find them. He's going to send them to you if you're willing to be real enough to risk talking about more than just the Browns. If you're real enough to say, hey, can I risk showing you some of my real weaknesses? I got to tell you, you have stumbled into the church that this is a great place to have friends. It really is. I tell you, they're fun, oh my gosh, fun. But we also do life together. In your program, you see the small groups that we have. It's a great place to connect with people. It's a great place to be able to come together and talk about more than just the Browns. Now, we do our share of talking about the Browns, but we get around to more than that. I want to invite you, take that home with you. I want you to look at that. If you know that God's calling you to a different financial future, come check out Financial Peace University and make some friends who are actually doing some good stuff to try to get out of debt and try to make a different future for their family tree. Sign up for a ministry. The best way to get to know people is to work alongside of them. You're like, I'm not sure about that small group stuff. I don't know what goes on. Okay, guess what? You can figure out what happens in the sound booth. You can figure out what happens behind the computer. You can figure out, just show up and start working alongside people. And you'll be amazed and surprised that when you step out and you say, all right, let's figure out, come on, let's go, that you will find the sweetest grace and the most power of God right there. Yeah, it's going to be scary. Your hand's going to shake, and you're going to risk. But you will find a glorious experience of God when you do. Now, I want to challenge you. You probably could think of somebody that made you want to be better. And maybe you can think of that person that's been a spiritual help to you. But I bet there's a whole lot of us that don't have that third friend. That one who's willing to say, come on, I got a hard truth that you need to hear. As we pray today, I want to challenge you to ask God to send those people into your life. Invest. Be willing to risk with them and see the power of God move. I want to give you an idea of what that's been like for one person. I've talked about Dave today. I want, in his own words, him to share about what has happened in his life because of his friends here.
I came from a church that had about 10,000 members to this church, and first time I walked in, hello, all these people saying hello, and you're like, what the, this is weird. Everyone was smiling and friendly, and from there it just took off. And since then, I had a lot of great things happen for me as an individual, for my family, over the last, been 30 years now. Probably about 5 years ago, I was sitting in class. Phil Fisher was teaching, and he said, hey, if anyone wants to teach again, let me know. I always tell the story that, sometimes people say you hear a small, soft voice. I said I felt a club in the back of my head saying, he was talking to you, dummy. So I leaned over to Phil, just like this, and I said, hey, Phil, I think I'll take one of those. Ever since then, I taught the class until last year when we started iFire. And since then, we've started another class, Cornerstone. We had our first year with that last year, and it went really well. My family, as far as my kids and my wife, it's had a huge impact on us. And obviously by the things that, we've participated in church, whether it was as a group or as a leader or whatever, we've become very involved in the church, and I don't see that ever stopping. My one sister started coming here about a year ago. She had gone to church her whole life. She was sort of getting away from it. I said, hey, just come to my church. I go, I'm not saying you're going to like it or not. I go, but I think you'll meet some great people. And I know she's met some great people. So other than the momentous events of weddings and baptisms and those types of things, it's just the relationships. Just met a lot of great people that have, over time, contributed to my faith growing. Just a lot of great people. But I always tell people that's what's cool about this church, is the wide array of people. I have friends in their 20s, I have friends in their 40s, I have friends in their 70s, now 80s. Just a lot of people have impacted my life, really made my faith grow. In the secular world, not getting into anything church-related, just the way I handle myself in business, the way I talk to people on the phone, just things you don't think about, but every once in a while I'll catch myself and say, 10, 12, 20 years ago, I'd have told that person off or hung up or whatever. So I've caught myself being a much more forgiving person, and someone that also asks for forgiveness and isn't afraid to. So I'd say in my business life, it's made a huge change. As far as church, I was the typical Christian that I thought we were supposed to be. Go to church on Sunday, give a few bucks. That was about it. And then I came here. It has changed my life from being the go to church on Sunday, give a few bucks person to, just participating in so many different, organizations and groups and getting involved with people. When I came here, it took me to a whole different level. The people and the just the whole experience here took me to a whole different level with everything in my life.
That's what I want to challenge you, that when we have our next Friend Day and you invite your friends, I want you to be able to have the same kind of story. I said, you know what? The friends that God has brought, the friends that I've invested in, have made my life completely different. Let's pray. God, I want to thank you for our friends. Thank you for the relationships that you've brought into our lives, for those that see more in us than we see in ourselves, for those who encourage us to be better than we are. God, I also thank you for those who will give us spiritual care when we're in the midst of sadness or even fear, that we can find those who will encourage us. And also, God, for that rare person who will be able to speak truth to us when we need to hear it most. I ask, God, that you would give us the courage and the strength to invest in those relationships. When there's a vacancy, God, help us to fill it rather than wait until something happens like David did. Help us to fill that vacancy, because you're sending us people for our lives, and that we can be that for someone else. And God, I just ask that we would find your grace to be sweetest and your power to be made known when we step out and are willing to risk for you. And we ask all of this in the name of Christ. Amen.
You guys would please stand with us for the last song.